The Galactic Empire had ruled the stars for centuries. Their fleets were enormous, their weapons powerful, and their officers disciplined to the point of perfection. No planet had ever resisted their authority. Yet in a quiet corner of unexplored space, something unusual appeared on their scanners. Captain Arvok, a veteran officer of the Imperial fleet, stared at the glowing blips on his command console. "What is that?" he demanded. His voice was steady but tinged with disbelief. The signals were irregular, almost playful, moving in ways that broke all known space navigation patterns. Lieutenant Karan replied cautiously, "Sir, these are not ordinary ships. They are small, but their shields are unlike anything we've seen. They move faster than calculations allow." Arvok's brow furrowed. "Small ships? Alone in this sector? They must be primitive. Send the patrol fleet, crush them before they become a nuisance." Meanwhile, on the other side of space, Captain Elias Voss leaned back in his chair aboard the human ship Intrepid Dawn. The console hummed gently under his hands. The tiny vessel, no bigger than a scouting cruiser by Imperial standards, moved with incredible speed, weaving between asteroid clusters as if it were dancing. "All right, crew," Elias said with a grin. "Let's see how long it takes them to lose their cool. Don't let them know we are nervous." The crew laughed softly. Even though they were thousands of light years from Earth, far from home and surrounded by unknown dangers, their morale was high. This was humanity. They thrived under challenge, and they had learned to find joy in the chaos. Back in the Empire, the patrol fleet approached the human ships. Massive war cruisers loomed over the tiny figures like mountains over ants. Imperial communication channels crackled. "Halt immediately. Identify yourselves," boomed Captain Arvok's voice across the void. The response came almost immediately, but not as expected. A light, clear human voice echoed over the comms. "Haha, did you just say halt? That's cute. Sorry, but we don't stop for strangers." Laughter followed. The Imperial officers froze. The communication system was secure. They should have heard warnings or commands or something formal. Instead, there was laughter. The tiny human ships moved with an almost mocking grace, darting between the patrol fleet's weapons fire with impossible precision. "Report," Arvok shouted, slamming his fist on the console. "Are these creatures serious?" Lieutenant Karan struggled to respond. "Sir, they are evading us effortlessly. Their maneuvers do not follow standard physics. At least not as we understand them." Elias watched the monitors, smiling at each reaction of the Empire officers. "Keep it light, everyone. Let them sweat. Their tension is amusing." In the patrol fleet, confusion spread. Imperial gunners fired massive plasma cannons, expecting destruction. The human ships laughed again and then did something that no one could anticipate. They released small, shimmering drones. The drones didn't explode. Instead, they gently disabled the energy weapons of the patrol fleet, leaving the human ships untouched. "Impossible," Arvok shouted. "How can such small vessels do this?" Elias chuckled. "Tiny sparks can still ruin a lot of machinery." The Empire officers were in shock. Their training, their technology, their centuries of dominance, they all seemed useless against these humans. Yet the humans did not attack lethally. They moved like dancers, playful but precise, never harming life unless it was necessary to defend themselves. Arvok called a meeting of his senior officers aboard the flagship Oblivion's Eye. The council chamber was tense, filled with officers in perfectly pressed uniforms, each trying not to show fear. "Reports confirm," Arvok said, "that these humans are highly intelligent, unusually fast, and oddly fearless. Their ships are small, yet they outmaneuver entire fleets. They disable weapons without loss of life. What do we make of them?" Admiral Rethar, the oldest officer present, frowned. "Sir, I have seen alien races before. Most rely on brute force, numbers, or intimidation. These humans, they do not act as any known species would. They fight with laughter." "Yes," Arvok said grimly. "They communicate in laughter and mockery, and it seems to work. Our fleets are ineffective against them." Meanwhile, the humans continued their playful maneuvers. They navigated asteroid fields, circled abandoned satellites, and used the terrain of space to their advantage. On the bridge of the Intrepid Dawn, the crew cheered silently as they watched the Empire fleet flounder. "Look at them," Elias said softly, almost to himself. "So serious, so sure of themselves. And yet here we are, dancing circles around them. I almost feel sorry for them. The humans' laughter was not cruel, but it was confident. It was a reminder that they were in control, even in a situation that could have been deadly. They knew the difference between fear and respect. Arvok's officers tried to re-establish order. All units concentrate fire. Do not let them escape, he commanded. But the human ships anticipated each move. They created illusions, deploying holographic copies of themselves, confusing the Imperial gunners further. Hours passed in this strange battle of patience and cleverness. The Empire fleet, massive and powerful, was forced to retreat temporarily. Their pride was wounded, their confidence shaken. And all the while the humans remained calm, joking among themselves as if it were a simple game. Back in the Empire Council chamber, tension was high. If these humans are what they seem, they could be dangerous, Rathar said. Not because of strength, but because they are unpredictable. Our tactics are useless against them. Arvok leaned back in his chair, rubbing his temples. They laugh at us, Admiral. They mock our authority and refuse to comply. How can a species be so small yet so fearless? Rathar spoke quietly, almost reverently. Perhaps it is not size or technology that matters. Perhaps it is the mind, Captain. And humans. They think differently. Meanwhile, the humans rested. Their ships floated calmly in the darkness, engines humming softly. Crew members shared stories of Earth, of human ingenuity and persistence. They repaired small systems with clever improvisation, joked about the Empire's angry faces they could see on the monitors, and enjoyed the thrill of outsmarting a larger, more powerful opponent. Elias gathered his crew for a brief meeting. Remember this, he said, smiling. They may have numbers, weapons, and history, but we have our wits, our courage, and our laughter. Never forget that, and always enjoy it. It makes the work easier. The crew laughed with him. It was not arrogance. It was confidence born from preparation, teamwork, and a deep belief in human resilience. As the first encounter ended, the Empire retreated, confused and frustrated. Their messages to command were filled with warnings, but also disbelief. How could a tiny fleet of humans outmaneuver an entire task force? How could laughter be used as a weapon? In the dark vacuum of space, the humans floated silently. They had made no promises, caused no unnecessary harm, but they had demonstrated that courage, intelligence, and humor could challenge even the mightiest power in the galaxy. And far away, Captain Elias Voss whispered to himself, "This is only the beginning. Let them come prepared next time. But remember, no matter how strong they think they are, laughter always has the edge." The stars glittered around the human ships, small points of light in the vast darkness. The humans looked forward with calm confidence, knowing that the galaxy would soon learn that humans were not to be underestimated, and that sometimes the most powerful response was a simple, echoing laugh. The Galactic Empire had retreated to regroup, but the taste of humiliation lingered in every officer's mind. Entire fleets had been outmaneuvered by a handful of humans, and the humans had laughed through it all. Captain Arvok paced the bridge of the flagship Oblivion's Eye. He stared at the tactical display, his jaw tight. "We cannot allow this to continue," he said. "They are small, yes, but clever. And reckless courage is far more dangerous than sheer firepower. Assemble the second fleet. This time, we overwhelm them." Admiral Rathar nodded slowly. "Agreed, Captain. But we must be careful. The humans are unpredictable. Traditional tactics may not work." Meanwhile, Captain Elias Voss and his crew on the Intrepid Dawn had docked briefly near a small asteroid base. The base was simple, functional, and well hidden. Humans did not need grand stations. They relied on mobility, intelligence, and improvisation. "All right, team," Elias said, leaning against the railing of the command deck. "They're coming back bigger this time. But remember, speed, creativity, and confidence. Don't let them see fear, and keep laughing." Lieutenant Mara, the ship's navigation officer, smiled. "Captain, I think they'll be funnier this time. They'll try their big guns and we'll dance around them." Elias chuckled. "Exactly. Let's make them chase shadows and question everything they know. That's our advantage." Days later, the Empire's second fleet entered human-controlled space. This time, it was not just a patrol fleet. It was a task force of war cruisers, dreadnoughts, and support vessels. Thousands of guns, shields, and missiles filled the void. The Empire believed overwhelming numbers would crush the humans. But the humans were ready. Using the asteroid base as a staging point, they deployed decoy ships, holographic projections, and high-speed drones. The humans did not wait passively. They took the initiative. As the first Imperial ships approached, the humans broadcasted their signature laughter. It echoed across space, light, clear, and almost mocking. Admiral Rathar, observing from his flagship, stiffened. They're laughing. Again. How can a species be so calm under threat? Elias Voss watched the display. Now, he said, we begin the fun part. The human ships darted through asteroid fields, weaving in ways no Imperial pilot could predict. Missiles launched by the Empire's dreadnoughts were intercepted mid-flight by tiny human drones. Plasma beams aimed at the humans struck only empty decoys. Every attack from the Empire seemed to fail, and every failure brought a laugh from the human crews. Captain Arvok gritted his teeth. Concentrate fire. Focus on one ship at a time. Lieutenant Karan hesitated. Sir, they are too fast. And there are too many of us, and yet... His voice trailed off. They are toying with us, Arvok said, disbelief coloring his voice. This is not war. This is a game. Back on the intrepid Dawn, Elias smiled at his crew. Exactly. Let them play their game. We'll play ours. Remember, patience and creativity win where raw power fails. The humans' tactics were simple in principle but deadly in effect. They exploited the Empire's rigidity. Where Imperial ships moved in strict formations, humans broke patterns, dodged, and feinted. Where the Empire relied on brute force, humans used clever traps, gravitational distortions, holographic decoys, and energy pulse nets that disabled weapons without harming crews. Every Imperial officer grew more frustrated. Guns fired into empty space. Ships collided with asteroids as they tried to adjust to human unpredictability. Even the fleet's communication system was overwhelmed by the constant laughter transmitted across channels. On the human bridge, Mara pointed at the tactical screen. Look, they're splitting into small groups trying to flank us. Let's lead them straight into the gravitational anomaly here. Elias nodded. Good. That's exactly where I wanted them. The humans maneuvered the Imperial ships into the trap. Gravity wells pulled larger ships slightly off course, sending them spinning uncontrollably. Weapon systems scrambled. The humans laughed softly as they watched massive cruisers struggle to correct their positions. Can you believe this? Said Ensign Darren, a young communications officer. We're actually winning against their largest fleet, and they're firing everything they've got. Elias laughed. Yes, and the best part? They think overwhelming firepower is everything. They don't understand that cleverness and calm under pressure can do more than numbers. For hours, the battle continued in this unusual way. The Empire's ships were strong, well-armed and numerous, but they lacked the flexibility, creativity, and sheer courage of the humans. The humans worked as a single team, laughing, joking, and improvising together. Their unity was their true strength. On the Imperial flagship, tension was unbearable. Officers argued, shouted orders, and tried to force their formations into standard strategies, but the humans always anticipated the next move. Admiral Rathar finally spoke quietly to Captain Arvok. They are not just fast or clever. They are fearless, unpredictable, and united. I do not think brute force will defeat them. They fight differently, and that difference is terrifying. Arvok clenched his jaw. I have never seen anything like this. Our tactics, our experience, they mean nothing to these humans. Meanwhile, the humans decided it was time to escalate, but not in the way the Empire expected. Instead of attacking with lethal weapons, Elias ordered the deployment of a network of non-lethal EMP pulses. These pulses disabled several Imperial dreadnoughts' weapon systems temporarily, leaving them harmless. No one was harmed. The effect was immediate. Imperial officers were thrown into chaos. Shields are holding, but all weapon systems offline, one officer shouted. We can't fire. The humans laughed quietly among themselves. See? Chaos without blood, Elias said. Sometimes the best way to win is to confuse them completely. As the day ended, the Empire realized they were no closer to victory. Their pride was bruised, their confidence shaken. Their massive fleets had been outsmarted repeatedly by a small, playful human team. Elias gathered his crew for a short debrief. Today was perfect. They threw everything they had at us, and we danced through it. Remember, the galaxy fears brute force, but it never expected cleverness and courage. That is the edge we have. And don't forget to laugh. It keeps you sharp. The crew laughed softly, a mix of relief and joy. They knew the Empire would return. They knew the next encounter would be even harder, But they also knew humans were different. They were creative, resilient, and fearless, and their laughter was more than a sound. It was a signal of strength, confidence, and unity. In the Empire's council chambers, the news of the second encounter reached the highest levels. "These humans," Arvok said bitterly, "they are not just fighters. They are something else entirely. We cannot predict them. We cannot crush them with power. And worst of all, they laugh at us while we try." Rethar nodded. "Yes, they are small, yet they make us doubt ourselves. That is dangerous. The galaxy is not used to such a species." Back in the asteroid field, the humans prepared for the next day. They repaired systems, shared stories, and laughed about the faces they had seen on Imperial monitors. It was a strange, quiet victory, but one that filled them with confidence. Elias watched the stars, thinking of Earth, of humanity's history of challenges, and of the galaxy ahead. "Let them bring their fleets," he whispered. "We will meet them. And we will meet them with courage, wit, and yes, laughter." The humans' ships glowed faintly under the starlight, small points of light in the vast darkness. Yet they were not afraid. For humans, size and numbers were less important than heart, intelligence, and unity. And above all, humans knew how to laugh in the face of impossible odds. The Empire would return. That much was certain. But so was this: humans were ready. They had discovered their advantage, and it was not firepower alone. It was courage, it was wit, and it was laughter. And in the silence of space, as the stars twinkled around them, the humans rested with calm confidence, knowing the next encounter would be even more interesting and even more amusing. The Galactic Empire had never faced a species like humans. Their confidence, their unpredictability, and most of all their laughter, had shaken even the most disciplined officers. After 2 encounters, the Empire decided to escalate. This time they were sending their largest fleet yet, a colossal flagship accompanied by dozens of battlecruisers, dreadnoughts, and support vessels. Captain Arvok stood on the bridge of the flagship Oblivion's Eye, his uniform stiff, his hands clenched. "This ends now," he said, his voice low but firm. "No more games. We will crush them, and the galaxy will know that defiance is meaningless." Admiral Rethar, standing beside him, shook his head. "Captain, they are not ordinary. They think differently. Numbers and weapons alone may not defeat them." "Be cautious," Arvok ignored the warning. He had spent his life believing in strategy, discipline, and overwhelming force. Humans had mocked all of that, and he could not tolerate it. Far away, Captain Elias Voss and the crew of the intrepid Dawn monitored the massive Empire fleet approaching. The human ships were small, but their confidence was unshakable. "Here they come," Elias said, leaning over the console. "Biggest yet. Don't worry, everyone. We've danced with them before. We know the steps," Lieutenant Mara grinned. "Captain, I hope they enjoy the show." "I love how predictable they think we are." Elias laughed. "Exactly. Predictable is the last thing they'll find." As the Empire fleet entered the system, massive weapons arrays powered up, sending beams of energy and missiles into space. Their intent was clear: obliterate the humans before they could react, but humans did not panic. They moved like a well-oiled machine, their ships weaving, darting, and splitting into smaller units. Holographic decoys appeared, confusing targeting systems. Missiles detonated harmlessly against phantom ships. The first human laugh echoed across space, transmitted directly to the Empire's communication channels. Did you really think that would work?" Imperial officers froze. Arvok banged his fist on the console. "Shut it down. Stop their communications." "They cannot mock us," Lieutenant Karan replied nervously. "Sir, I'm not sure they're even trying to communicate in the usual way. It's laughter. It's their weapon, their signal, their attitude." Elias watched the display with calm amusement. "They're serious," he said softly. "But they think we're funny. Let's keep it that way." The Empire unleashed everything they had. Plasma beams, energy missiles, tractor beams, they fired relentlessly. The humans responded not with anger, but with precision and cleverness. Ships darted between asteroids, gravity wells, and debris fields, making the massive Imperial vessels look clumsy. One human ship, piloted by Ensign Darren, raced toward a cluster of Empire dreadnoughts. He deployed miniature drones that attached to their hulls, subtly altering energy flows and causing weapons to misfire. The Empire crews were thrown into chaos. "Why isn't it hitting?" one officer shouted. The calculations were perfect. Mara laughed quietly over the comms. Perfect for them. Not perfect for you. Captain Elias gave a small smile. Keep calm. Observe and react. The moment they lose patience, we win. Hours passed in a strange kind of battle. The Empire's fleet was vast, but humans had control over every engagement. They moved unpredictably, always 3 steps ahead, always precise. And all the while they laughed. Not cruelly, but confidently, as if to remind the Empire that fear had no place in this fight. Arvok tried new tactics, attempting to form tight formations and funnel the humans into kill zones. But every attempt failed. The humans had anticipated each move. Small ships split off to distract, holographic projections tricked targeting computers, and gravity anomalies pulled larger vessels off course. On the intrepid Dawn, Elias watched the Empire flail. Patience, crew. Watch the art of imperfection. The humans introduced another element, misdirection. They feinted attacks on one side of the fleet, then appeared suddenly on the other. Energy weapons discharged into empty space while the humans remained unscathed. Laughter continued to echo across comms, driving the Empire officers into desperation. Rathar spoke quietly to Arvok. They are not just clever. They understand our weaknesses. Discipline and protocol are strengths in most battles, but here they are shackles. Arvok clenched his jaw. Then we fight differently. We overpower them. But no matter the Empire's effort, the humans adapted. They anticipated, they maneuvered, and they laughed. Every massive gun aimed at them failed. Every attack misfired or struck nothing. Finally, the humans decided it was time to take the initiative. They did not attack lethally, but they showed their power clearly. Using a combination of energy pulse nets and magnetic disruptions, they disabled the weapons of several dreadnoughts, leaving them harmless. The Empire officers panicked. All major weapons offline. They're controlling our systems. On the human bridge, Mara grinned. And they thought numbers alone could do it. Numbers are useless when you know exactly how to use the space around you. Elias nodded. Remember, this is not about destruction. This is about demonstrating control. Confusion is just as powerful as firepower, sometimes more. The Empire flagship tried to retreat, but the humans blocked escape routes with clever positioning. They did not strike to destroy, they merely demonstrated that even the mightiest ships could be outsmarted by a smaller, smarter force. Arvok's frustration reached its peak. Cease this farce, he shouted. They are mocking us. Fire everything, the human crew laughed softly. They are, Elias said, smiling. And that's the point. Hours turned into a full day of engagement. The Empire was forced to admit failure, not through loss of ships, but through loss of control and morale. Their discipline, their rigid protocols, their overwhelming force, it all failed against human adaptability and courage. As the battle ended, the humans withdrew to their staging point. No ship was destroyed unnecessarily. No life was taken except to protect themselves. And yet they had sent a clear message. Humans were unpredictable, clever, and fearless. And laughter was their unspoken weapon. In the Empire Council chamber, the officers were silent. They did not lose a single ship, Rathar said quietly. And yet they humiliated us completely. This is unprecedented. Arvok rubbed his temples. We cannot fight them as we fight others. We need new strategies, but I do not know if we can match their creativity. Meanwhile, the humans rested. They repaired their ships, shared stories of Earth, and laughed quietly at the images they had seen of Imperial officers panicking. It's amazing, Ensign Darren said. They have all this technology, all these weapons, and they are still hopelessly predictable. Elias nodded. That is the difference between power and intelligence. And between fear and courage, we have courage. We have wit. And we have laughter. That is our edge, Mara smiled. I think they will come again. Bigger, angrier, but that's fine. We are ready. Always ready, Elias said, and always amused. The stars outside shimmered, silent witnesses to the unusual battle. Small human ships moved like points of light among the massive Imperial vessels. A demonstration of skill, courage, and confidence. The galaxy was vast, and yet humans had proven one simple truth. Strength is not only in numbers or weapons. It is in courage, creativity, and the joy to face any challenge with a smile. As night fell over the asteroid field, the humans prepared for the next encounter. They did not fear the Empire's wrath. They had learned the rhythm of the dance. They had learned the value of patience, ingenuity, and teamwork. And above all, they had discovered the power of laughter, a sound that could confuse, inspire, and disarm all at once. And somewhere far away, the Empire fleet limped back to regroup. The lessons were harsh, the pride wounded, and the fear growing. For the first time in its history, the Empire realized that humans were not just another species in the galaxy. They were an unknown variable, a force that could not be measured by size, firepower, or tradition. Captain Elias Voss looked out of the viewport, at the stars scattered across the endless black. "Let them come," he whispered. "We will meet them again, and we will meet them with courage, wit, and laughter." The human ships rested quietly among the asteroids, but the crew was ready. The next encounter would be larger, more dangerous, but it would also be another opportunity to show the galaxy what humans could do. Always together, always fearless, and always laughing. The Galactic Empire had never been so frustrated. Their largest fleets had been defeated, not through loss of ships, but by confusion, cleverness, and audacious courage. And always the humans had laughed. Captain Arvok paced the bridge of the Oblivion's Eye, his face pale and rigid. "We cannot continue like this. Every move we make is anticipated. Every plan we execute is countered. How do we fight a species that does not fear us?" Admiral Rethar's voice was quiet but firm. "Captain, we are facing something beyond brute force. They are not just intelligent, they are creative, united and fearless. We cannot predict them because they do not think like us. We need a new approach." But the Empire was stubborn. Their pride demanded victory, and their arrogance refused to consider that humans might have an advantage beyond technology. Far away, the humans gathered quietly on the asteroid field near their hidden base. Captain Elias Voss studied the Empire's fleet on his tactical display. "They are regrouping," he said. "They will try to strike back bigger and angrier this time. But we know the rhythm now. Let's show them the next step of the dance." Lieutenant Mara smiled. "Captain, this will be fun. They think numbers and firepower are everything. They haven't seen creativity like ours before." "Exactly," Elias said. "Our goal isn't just survival. It's to teach them that humans are not measured by size or weapons. That lesson must be clear." The Empire fleet moved slowly, attempting to reorganize after the last humiliating encounter. Massive warships scanned the asteroid fields carefully, trying to predict where humans might strike. But humans did not strike blindly. They chose their moments, always controlling the flow of battle. Elias gathered his crew in the small command room. "We're going to approach their fleet in a way they won't expect. Patience first, observation second, and then..." He smiled. "At creativity." Mara looked at him excited. "Captain, I like that word, creativity. That's the edge humans have." "Exactly," Elias replied. "We'll use the environment, our speed, and a few surprises they won't anticipate. And above all, we'll show them that courage and humor are as powerful as weapons." The humans split their fleet into small groups. Each group moved silently, using asteroid shadows to hide their approach. They did not attack immediately. Instead, they observed the Empire's formations, noting weaknesses, rigid movements, and predictable reactions. Captain Arvok watched as his officers gave reports. "Sensors detect minor fleet movements near asteroid clusters. Likely scouting," he frowned. "Prepare all weapons. Any interference, destroy it." The humans, however, had no intention of destroying life unnecessarily. Their weapons were designed to disable, confuse, and control, not kill. Small pulse nets, energy disruptors, and gravity traps would do the work. Suddenly, the Empire's fleet experienced unexpected failures. Weapon systems temporarily shut down. Communications were scrambled. Navigation controls became sluggish. And over the comms came that familiar sound. Human laughter. Arvok's face turned red. "Shut them down. Silence their channels." But it was too late. The humans' clever tactics had already taken effect. They moved through the fleet like shadows, appearing, disappearing, and redirecting the Imperial ships without direct confrontation. Every massive dreadnought was forced to correct its position, adjust shields, and defend against threats that were not actually there. On the intrepid dawn, Elias observed the chaos with calm amusement. "They are panicking, but they cannot understand that this is exactly what we wanted. Confusion is a weapon and we wield it with precision." Mara pointed to the tactical screen. "Captain, the rear fleet is overextending. If we lead them through the anomaly here, Their ships will struggle with maneuvering. It's perfect, Elias nodded. Good. Let's guide them gently and then watch the results. The humans moved the Empire's rear fleet into a carefully planned trap. Asteroids, gravity shifts, and subtle energy pulses forced massive ships into positions where they could not coordinate effectively. Weapons misfired, shields flickered. The Empire officers shouted and panicked as their formations collapsed under invisible pressure. Meanwhile, the humans moved in small groups, laughing quietly at the results. They think they are winning, Elias said softly. But we are showing them something more important than victory. We are showing them human ingenuity and courage. Hours passed as the Empire tried desperately to regain control, but every move they made was anticipated. Every attack countered. And always, human laughter echoed across the void, light, clear, and disarming. Arvok's officers argued amongst themselves. We have numbers. We have weapons. Why can't we defeat them? Rathar shook his head. Because they are not fighting like anyone else we have faced. They do not fear us. They do not rely on our mistakes. They create their own opportunities. That is the power of humans. In a final demonstration of their skill, the humans deployed a series of non-lethal EMP pulses that temporarily disabled the Empire flagship's weapons. Massive cannons went dark. Energy shields flickered. And over comms came a calm, playful human voice. See? Not everything has to explode to be effective. The Empire officers were stunned. Massive ships armed to the teeth rendered harmless by a small fleet of humans, and still the humans had done it without unnecessary harm. They had proven their control, intelligence, and courage. Elias looked at his crew. Remember this moment. It is not just about fighting. It is about strategy, teamwork, and the power of confidence. We have shown them that brute force alone is not enough. Mara grinned. And don't forget the laughter. That seems to bother them most. Elias chuckled. Yes, laughter is our secret weapon. Not cruelty, not fear, but confidence and joy. That is something the galaxy does not expect. The Empire fleet, humiliated once more, began a slow retreat. Arvok's face was pale, his pride wounded. They are unlike anything we have faced, he muttered. Not stronger, not faster, but smarter, more confident and fearless. And worst of all, they mock us while we fail. Rathar nodded. Yes, Captain. And now we understand. Humans are not like any other species. Their strength is not in numbers, weapons, or technology alone. It is in creativity, courage, and unity. Back on the asteroid field, the humans rested. Ships were repaired, stories of Earth were shared, and quiet laughter filled the halls. They had not destroyed an entire fleet, nor had they sought revenge. They had demonstrated power, strategy, and confidence. Elias gathered his crew for a brief meeting. We have done well. They will return larger and more determined. But we are ready. We know our advantage. We know how to move, how to control, and how to remain fearless. And we know that laughter can be more powerful than any cannon. Ensign Darren smiled. Captain, I can't wait to see their faces next time. Neither can I, Elias replied. Neither can I. The stars shimmered around them, small points of light in the vast darkness. The humans floated among them, calm, confident, and united. They had faced the mightiest fleets of the galaxy and had won. Not through destruction, but through intelligence, courage, and joy. And as the Empire limped away, nursing their wounded pride, humans rested quietly, knowing the next encounter would come, and when it did, they would meet it with the same confidence, ingenuity, and laughter that had made them unstoppable so far. The galaxy had begun to notice something unusual. Humans were not just another species. They were unpredictable, clever, and fearless, and their laughter, simple, confident, and joyful, was a reminder that courage, intelligence, and joy could defeat even the greatest power in the stars. Captain Elias Voss looked at the stars, thinking of Earth, of humanity's history, and of the endless challenges ahead. Let them come prepared, he whispered. We will meet them, and we will meet them with courage, wit, and laughter. For the first time in the vast history of the galaxy, a species had proven that joy could be more powerful than fear, and humans were leading the way. The plains of Zarathus were quiet now, though the echoes of battle still lingered. Smoke curled from scorched ground, and the distant horizon bore the remains of the alien fleet. The twin suns cast a golden glow over the shattered landscape. Reflecting off the crystal towers and jagged mountains, Lyra stood at the edge of the valley, her armor scratched and scorched, her chest heaving from exhaustion. Yet she felt no fear, only a fierce, quiet pride. Beside her, Captain Jaren cleaned his energy blade, his calm presence a stark contrast to the chaos around them. His expression was unreadable, but Lyra sensed satisfaction. Together they had faced an impossible force and prevailed. Commander Vareth approached, his face serious but lined with relief. "Lyra, Captain, you have done what many thought impossible. The fleet is retreating, scattered and broken. Zarathis stands." Lyra glanced at the battlefield. Debris littered the plains. Drones lay in ruined heaps, and the survivors of the Zarathian forces were tending to the wounded. Yet amidst the devastation there was triumph. Their courage, their strength, and their unity had won. Jaren placed a hand on Lyra's shoulder. "We fought together," he said simply. "That is what made the difference. Never forget that." Lyra nodded, her mind replaying the battle in vivid detail. She remembered the first encounter with Jaren, the moment she had doubted humans and the lessons she had learned over days of training. He had taught her strategy, patience, and thinking beyond brute force. But more than that, he had shown her that courage was not bound by size, species, or tradition. Her thoughts were interrupted by a cheer from the Zarathian soldiers. Even the skeptics, those who had doubted the human warrior, now looked at him with respect and gratitude. Dravos, the burly warrior who had challenged her trust in Jaren, approached slowly, bowing his head in acknowledgement. "You are not like the stories," he said, his voice rough but sincere. "You are real. And you fought with honor." Jaren smiled faintly. "Legends are made by those willing to act, not by those who only speak." Lyra watched the exchange, feeling a swell of pride. Her people had seen the truth for themselves. Humans were not myths. They were allies, warriors, and friends. She thought of all the stories she had grown up hearing, tales of bravery and courage. They were no longer just stories. They were reality. As the sun began to set, Lyra and Jaren walked through the battlefield together. The ground was uneven, marked by craters and scorch marks, but the air felt lighter than it had in days. Lyra observed her people helping each other, sharing supplies and tending to the wounded. Even in victory, they showed strength and compassion and unity. Jaren paused beside a damaged drone. He studied it for a moment, then turned to Lyra. "They will learn from this too," he said. "Their fleet may have failed, but their tactics, their technology, they will adapt. You have to be ready for what comes next." Lyra nodded. "We will be ready, but not alone. We have each other. And now we have humans to stand with us." They continued walking until they reached a ridge overlooking the distant plains. The twin moons rose, casting silver light over the shattered fleet. The horizon seemed endless, full of possibilities, dangers, and hope. Lyra took a deep breath. "I believed humans were only legends," she said softly. "But now I see. Legends can walk among us. They can fight beside us, and they can inspire us to become stronger than we ever imagined." Jaren looked at her, his expression unreadable but calm. "It is not just humans, Lyra. It is anyone willing to face fear, to fight with courage, and to think beyond what is expected. Legends exist in every world, in every species, in every heart willing to act." Lyra smiled, understanding. Courage, strength, and ingenuity were not limited to one race or one planet. They were universal. And today, those qualities had saved her world. The night was peaceful now, though the memory of battle lingered. Lyra sat beside Jaren, watching the stars glimmer above the plains. The sky was vast and full of unknown worlds, but she no longer felt small in its immensity. She felt part of something greater, a galaxy where courage and unity could make a difference. Commander Vareth approached quietly. "Lyra, Jaren," he said, "I want to commend both of you. You have not only protected Zarathis, but you have also forged a bond that will guide our people for generations." Lyra rose and nodded. "Thank you, Commander." But it was more than just strength. It was strategy, courage, and trust, and it was Captain Jaren who taught us that. Jaren shook his head. "I only shared what I knew. The real credit goes to your people. Zarathians are strong, brave, and capable. I only helped guide you to see what was possible." Lyra smiled. "Then together we are unstoppable." The following days were filled with recovery and rebuilding. The people of Zarathis repaired their cities, tended to the wounded, and celebrated their survival. Jaren remained with them, teaching more human strategies, sharing insights, and helping Lyra train a new generation of warriors. The bond between humans and Zerathians grew stronger with each passing day. Lyra reflected on her journey. She had begun with skepticism, pride, and disbelief. She had thought humans were mere myths, stories to inspire or scare. Yet now, standing amidst her people, she understood the truth. Humans were real. They were capable of greatness. They were a reminder that courage, ingenuity, and determination could overcome even the most impossible odds. One evening, as the twin moons rose over the crystal towers, Lyra and Jaren stood atop a ridge overlooking the city. The air was calm, the winds gentle, and the stars twinkled like diamonds in the vast sky. "Do you ever regret coming here?" Lyra asked, breaking the silence. Jaren shook his head. "Never. I came to help, and I found something far more valuable. Friends, allies, and the proof that courage knows no bounds." Lyra nodded, smiling. "You've changed my world. And my people. We will never forget what you did." Jaren placed a hand on her shoulder. "And you've reminded me that legends are not just stories, they are choices. Every act of bravery, every decision to stand and fight creates a legend. You, Lyra, have done that today and every day of your life." Lyra looked out at the city below, alive with activity and laughter once more. The aliens had been defeated, the fleet scattered, and her people were safe. But more importantly, she had learned a vital lesson. Legends are real when courage, strength, and ingenuity come together, regardless of where they come from. As she watched the moons rise higher in the sky, Lyra felt hope swell in her chest. The galaxy was vast, full of unknown challenges and wonders, but she was no longer afraid. Humans had proven that bravery and skill could change the course of events, and together, they could face anything. The night was peaceful, but it carried the promise of adventure, discovery, and unity. Lyra knew that this was only the beginning, not just for Zerathis, but for the bond between worlds, species, and warriors. Humans were no longer legends in her eyes. They were real. And now, standing beside them, she was ready to face whatever came next. Lyra turned to Jaren, her eyes bright with determination. "Tomorrow we train again. We prepare for the future. For my people, for yours, and for the galaxy." Jaren smiled. "Tomorrow and every day after. Legends are made every day, Lyra. Let's make sure we keep creating them." As the two warriors stood together, gazing at the stars above, Lyra felt a sense of completion. She had learned the truth about courage, strength, and humanity. She had seen legends walk among her, and she knew that together, humans and Zerathians could face any challenge, survive any threat, and inspire generations to come. The galaxy was vast. But now she was ready.